पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्. You can check whether you're getting. All of you are able to hear me? Are you
Yes,
able to see my
Yes, Guruji.
slides?
yes,
Yes.
Guruji. Yes, sir.
अर्जुन उवाच अहो बत महत्पापं कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं यद्राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः श्रीभगवानुवाच अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे वेदाविनाशिनं नित्यं ययेनमयमव्ययं कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कं घातयति हन्तिकम् नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः अच्छेद्योऽयमदाख्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्. We have to move from tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva and go beyond the gunas. All the panchakoshas are rid with the three gunas, and we have to go beyond the panchakoshas as well to reach the highest. And once you start, we have the realization, and that's called the Sthita Prajna. What are those qualities? You have seen, as Krishna Bhagavan describes, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnasthadochyate. Two dimensions. Free even while alive, Jivan Mukta, the Sthita Prajna. The two main features are freedom from all desires, from all thoughts. You should be able to in that complete silence, all pervasive silence for any length of time. Then totally in tune with the self, full of ananda, atmanive atmana tushtaha. Very well said. But how can we reach? Because the thoughts turn themselves into emotions. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. the innate connection between thoughts and emotions, brought beautifully how we understood in science matter and energy are the same. Repeated things brings attachment, that's the beginning of emotion. Leads to attractions and repulsions, anger, greed, infatuation, memory loss, loss of discrimination. Essentially, emotions are speeded up thoughts, powered up thoughts, we have understood. So, master our senses and emotions is the need of the hour today. रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा प्रसादमधिगच्छति दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः चितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते. We have to be free from this emotional slavery, raga, dvesha, and the corresponding things. How to do that? Dukkeshu anudvignamana, sukeshu vigataspraha, maintaining the balance. So once you do that, emergence of bliss in the subtle layers start. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso kyashu buddhi paryavatishthate. With the emergence of bliss inside, all miseries will vanish and the intellect gets established in peace. यस्सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. That's where you have the universal love, universal brotherhood, unattached love. And that is the wonderful thing that happens, which Swami Vivekananda heralded in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago. So from there we come to the higher layers of subtle mind. The most difficult shlokas we dealt with in the last two classes. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sarisha pashyato mune. So this is the one that discussed how we have to erase prarabdha and sanchita karma. Non-action is a state of silence, but it is not a single state, we understood. There can be several states of avyakta, that is the thing which you call as non-action. And we saw how avyakta state can start off even as pathological states of coma or hibernation, anesthetic unconscious, epileptic unconscious, alcoholic unconscious. They're all layers of avyakta. But then we have the deep sleep and the jada samadhi and hypnotic trance, drug-induced silence, all belong to this category of avyakta. Then comes the states of samadhi, superconscious states. So unconscious state, pathological state, unconscious state, and superconscious state all belong to this avyakta phase where the mind is not working, but they're all in the form of seed. Even in all the samadhis also, it is very much there. Mind is very much there in the form of seed, in the avyakta phase. And 8 types of samadhi which Patanjali describes, sampragnata and asampragnata. And this is where we try to understand the karma siddhanta. Every action we do has a reaction. So tamasic action, rajasic action, and the sattvic action have got corresponding reactions. The reactions will promote the tamas or promote rajas or promote sattva, the way that we do things. So these things, as action and reaction, will get stored in our entire manomaya vijnana anandamaya koshas, as sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma, which is going to come forward because of the action and reaction. So when we are born, we are born with these tendencies. The prarabdha karma shows up as tendencies or what we call as the hereditary tendencies. No? And correspondingly, the good or the bad effects or tamasic, rajasic or sattvic things start coming up. So this cycle goes on and on and on continuously. So when we are born, therefore we are having our tendencies, the hereditary tendencies in the form of tamas, rajas and sattva. So they are shown up as the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma doesn't mean that it's only bad. No? Prarabdha karma could be very good. Even a music prodigy, a mathematical prodigy, they're all born because of the Purvajanma samskaras. So these samskaras come up in our life. They are the tendencies. Then we live in a particular atmosphere. Depending on the influence of the atmosphere, there is going to be changes. For example, a person with hypertension tendency, he lives in a situation where things are very bad in terms of parents always fighting and parents having hypertension. They are also worried and tensions and stresses and others. Whole atmosphere is full of tension and stress and running, alcoholics and others. That has a great influence and the hypertension will show up very early. you know. So both these things cannot be changed. Because we cannot change your tendency. You are born with a tendency. Then the atmosphere in which you live also cannot be often changed. You cannot get out of it. But the one that we have, which can bring about the changes in this, is our freedom. We all have the freedom to do the way that we want. Atmosphere can be bad. You are born with a hereditary tendency, but you make a resolve. No, I'm going to go every day in the morning for a nice, good walk. I will go for doing some yogic postures and I will control my food. And all these things are in our hand. The lifestyle change, the freedom. And it's that freedom which we all have, which is the one which can be used to change our tendencies. Therefore, your action which we do in the form of freedom is going to change. Therefore, this is called the agami karma. Using the agami karma, you'll be able to change all our prarabdha karmas which have come. And depending on a balance between the force of prarabdha karma and the freedom that we have, all the prarabdha karma can be completely erased if we have that freedom. And then what happens? The resulting action will go back as the past action and change our entire memory store. All our samskaras which are there, will be changed. And therefore, in the next birth, you have a new tendency with a new dimension, tamas, rajas, sattva dimension there. Purti is the memory store called as karma. Sanchita karma refers to the sum total of an individual's past actions stored as memory and their consequences accumulated over countless lifetimes. Prarabdha karma represents the portion of Sanchita karma that manifests in the current life. What comes in the present life is the Prarabdha karma. But Sanchita karma is the whole set of memory store that we have. Sanchita karma therefore encompasses all actions that have yet to bear fruit. It's akin to a reservoir of deeds waiting to unfold, shaping the course of future incarnations. Understanding Sanchita karma underscores the cyclical nature of existence and emphasizes the personal responsibility and the law of cause and effect. That's the Smriti. Prarabdha karma specifically influences the events and circumstances unfolding in one's current life. In the context of a horoscope, the positions of the celestial bodies at the time of birth are believed to reflect this karmic blueprint, influencing individual experiences and destinies. The prarabdha karma shows up. So, how to diagnose this? Our ancient people have understood that shows up as the different positions of the different celestial bodies. the Navagrahas, and these Navagrahas, their positions in the horoscope shows up. It depends on the time of birth, the place of birth, and the date of birth. Once we have these three things, date of birth, time of birth, and the place of birth, which is very unique to everybody, then you have a particular horoscope which can be found. Therefore, this is a diagnostic way by which we will be able to see how the prarabdha karma is getting influenced in this thing. And depending on the position of these things, people have been able to find, okay, you are likely to become diabetic, you're likely to become the cancerous, and all these things. And all these things can be tracked in the horoscope. That's the research now we have started doing these things. Therefore, the alignment of prarabdha karma with astrological configuration suggests a nuanced interplay between cosmic forces and the personal actions, shaping the trajectory of life's journey as interpreted through the lens of astrology. So, Jyotisha is one of the darshanas, and it's one of the Vedangas. Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, and Jyotish. These are the Vedangas to understand the Vedas and understand our entire life dimension. Therefore, astrology is the Jyotisha. But today we have not understood the secrets of astrology, and no rigorous evidence-based research has been published. So, our new project of Varahamihira Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research, we have taken up this dimension to understand and to unravel the secrets of astrology, particularly dealing with the modern NCDs. So medical astrology is the one that we have now started doing, and we had Dr. Ramchandra Bhatt as our director for this thing, Varahamihira Advanced Center for Vedic Technology Research. And we come to today's topic, the Sakshi, the witness, and higher laws of creation, So here is, I think, a meditator wanted to grow higher. So a meditator brought a ladder to a meditation retreat. Why? Because he wanted to elevate their mind to new heights. Sakshi, the witness, So Sakshi Bhava is the most important thing. As I have told, the two layers of the mind, the outside layer of the mind, inside layer of the mind. The gross layer of the mind outside, in which we do all our normal activities, which goes on and on. Then we also have the subtler layer of the mind, inner layer of the mind, in which also we have activities. The whole essence of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, is to see how this inner layer of the mind can be cleansed, how that inner layer can be all the time in that silence, and that's the one that happens. Inner layer mind should be silenced. That is, yogastaha kuru karmani, karmani akarmaya pashet, we saw. When we are doing the action, ya Nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyata muni. When our mind is acting in our day-to-day activities, what is the role of a gnani, a person who is accomplished, a sthitaprajna? He has an inner layer in complete inner silence, calmness, peace. And that is called as the sakshi or the witness. That you learn to witness. So this is what we do, as I gave the examples of a dancing girl with a pot on the head, how she is dancing beautifully in this entire dimension. All her attention is to see that she doesn't lose the pot to come down, maintaining that internal gravity dimension. Similarly, a master driver driving through all havocs of terrible traffic, he maintains that inner awareness. Similarly, an actor who is acting in a drama maintains that inner awareness, the witness. So this is the Sakshi Bhava that we have, the inner awareness, inner witness, that is the thing. But this inner awareness, inner witness is also not a single state. Sakshi, with lesser and lesser focus and more of defocusing, expansion, is the one that we have to do. When we do initially the Sakshi Bhava, it's all essentially intense attention. Attention is focusing. And we have to do with lot of attention to see that happen. For example, we have a person who is cleaning up. The inner mind is doing something else and they are cleaning. They are washing the floor, cleaning up the floor, let us say. Then what is the result of that? Dirt will still be there and then he would have washed. Therefore, what we say, hey, be attentive. See that every particle, every dust is removed in the floor. You must have the attention. So, to be attentive is the first sense that is needed. That's how the Sakshi Bhava starts. Starts as attention. What happens in attention? There is a coning, The mind is focused. So, Sakshi Bhava starts with attention. In all activities which we talked about, there is attention. Gradually with practice, slowly the attention becomes less and less strenuous. In the beginning, attention is very strenuous. That is the dimension which Patanjali called as the dharana. In dharana, there is the focusing. And you cannot do dharana for a long time. Because if you do dharana even for 1 minute or 2 minutes intensely, then you start getting the headache here. Many people come and say, sir, I have been doing meditation, dhyana, but now I start getting headache here. What does it mean? They are not doing meditation, but they are doing dharana in the encounter. In dharana, there is a focusing. Focusing is the one that comes out in attention. Therefore, what Patanjali has prescribed, you have to go to dhyana, from dharana to dhyana. What is the difference? Meditation, effortless dharana is dhyana. In dharana also the single state, here also single state. What is the difference? Here the attention is the focusing that is coming up, whereas here it is the defocusing. So there is the prayatna shaithilya that starts coming up. Therefore, in dhyana and dharana, what is the difference? In dhyana, there is a single thought. Dharana also single thought. But there is a lot of effort to do the things in the dharana. So here the effortlessness starts, becomes less and less efforting. Prayatna shaithilya, as Patanjali says even in the practice of asanas. So in dhyana, you see that your effort goes on reducing. Once the effort comes down, there is the slowness that comes. The slowness is the third component of the dhyana. And once you slow down and then do this thing, then invariably you may go to sleep. Therefore, one has to be very careful. No sleep, sir. It should be wakefulness. Wakefully, you should be able to slow down and defocus. That's the dimension. And then comes the place of expansion. Defocusing is the term that is used for expansiveness of the mind. In attention, there is the constriction, there is focusing, like this thing. Very much necessary to begin with. But it has to be expanded. That's why in the Antaranga Yoga, we have dharana, dhyana, jumps into the samadhi, the next level. So in the Sakshi Bhava, when we say attention, there is always strain. So what should happen? As we practice, it becomes lesser and lesser focus and more of defocusing. That is the expansion process. So a master dancer, when she does, there is no strain involved in that. In the beginning, with full attention, she is doing a lot of strain in there. But as she becomes master, it becomes automatic. She doesn't have to really make any effort to maintain that center of gravity. Similarly, when we all learn cycling in the beginning, normal bicycle, when we do that, we are trying hard to get to the balance. You know. Once the balance comes, once you learn these things, it becomes effortless. Then you go with the balance, cycling, you go bicycle, you go on doing this thing. Similarly, here, with practice, the Sakshi Bhava, which is with full attention, focusing, starts getting deep focus. That's called this expansion. So, focus and deep focus. That is the whole essence. So, focusing to slowly turn into deep focus. And to avoid the sleepiness, again, you have to do the focus dimension. So, this is the whole process of expansion. Sakshi Bhava starts expanded, more and more expansion. And you move from Annamaya to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya Kosha. So in terms of spatial things, it's the expansion that is taking place, becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So Pranamaya Kosha is bigger than the Annamaya Kosha. And Manomaya Kosha is much, much bigger than the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is slightly bigger than the Annamaya Kosha. When you take the photographs by using biowell of this Pranamaya Kosha, you can see that it's slightly bigger than the Annamaya Kosha they have. And you can see all the changes that are taking place in the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Sanchita Karma and the Prarabdha Karma are all shown up in the Pranamaya Kosha as the imbalances. The imbalances in every organ system today can be measured using the biowell technology that has been developed greatly. Therefore, the Sanchita Karmas which are there, the Manomaya Kosha comes to the Pranamaya Kosha, shows up, and then comes to the physical body, shows up as the left-right imbalance, brain imbalance, left lobe and the right lobe of the brain gets imbalanced, and then brings autonomic imbalance, endocrine imbalance, and brings these imbalances into every system, and then into every organ in our body. And in our body, in all our organs, there is an imbalance. And this imbalance, when it becomes very big, then it shows up as a disease in the physical body. So imbalance in the Pranamaya Kosha, which are there, shows up as imbalance in the physical body. From where did this imbalance come in the Pranamaya Kosha? By imbalance in the Manomaya Kosha. That's the Adi dimension. So the imbalance in the Manomaya Kosha comes out in the form of the pranic imbalances. In all Pancha Pranas, we have Prana, Apana, Samana, Udana, Vyana. In all these, there is going to be imbalances. And these imbalances can be very high, it can be small. And they show up in the Kundalini as the different imbalances. In all the different chakras, there will be imbalance. So these Panchapranas and then chakras are all found in the Pranamaya Kosha. They are the subtle body. And that shows up in the physical body as imbalances, and the organs get into imbalance. That causes the dis-ease. When there is a balance, there is the ease. There is the effortlessness that comes up. Therefore, we have to see that we expand more and more the whole encounter. From Manomaya Kosha, expand further to Vijnanamaya Kosha, then to Anandamaya Kosha. That is the largest that we have seen. And beyond Panchakosha is our pure consciousness, our original self. And that is the one Krishna has told in that. That is beyond space, time, causation. And it has no birth, it has no death. It is beyond Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. And it is infinite energy, infinite power, infinite freedom, infinite bliss, infinite knowledge. It is from there the whole creation has come. Purnavadaha, Purnabidam, Purnat, Purnam Budachyate. This entire world comes from that Purna. It's the whole dimension. Therefore, the whole process of the Sakshi Bhava is to start with attention, and that's the process of focusing. And the focusing slowly start getting expanded into deep focusing. Dharana getting dhyana dimension. That's the dimension that we see. Here is a small story which I called out. The urban area was full of chaos, full of activity, and tremendous speed and everything. And there was a person named Vikshipa. Vikshipa sought refuge in her morning meditational routine. She had learned meditation, and every day she would sit in the morning and do meditation as a routine. With her witness, she traversed the dual dimensions of her mind, that is, focusing and defocusing. She learned how the mind is getting focused, how the mind is getting defocused. She was able to decipher the difference between focus and defocus. In the moments of focus, her attention brought thoughts to pause. When she was full of attention, all other thoughts could vanish. She was able to bring the mind to a pause, that is silence. But soon she felt a strain in her eyebrows, started getting pain as I was mentioning. So it turned into a brief headache. She understood that. So guided by his guru, Vikshipta surrendered to deep focus. She understood what is meant by deep focusing. She understood that in the awareness is getting expanded. Embracing the symphony of city sounds, the distant hum of traffic, the movement of leaves, the steady thump of her own heartbeat. When she expanded, she was able to feel all these things without any strain. Her headache started going away. That is the new realization she got from her guru. So, in this delicate dance between slowness and expansion, one side she was finding her mind is getting expanded. Similarly, on the other side, her slowness has started coming up. So, Vikshipta found tranquility amidst the cacophony, a sanctuary where the bustling world outside faded into insignificance, leaving only the rhythm of her slowed down breath. What was happening? He was completely aware of things that are happening with the slowness inside, with the expansion inside, and her breath also has started to slow down. Very, very slow breath, almost getting stopped. That is the Kevala Kumbhaka she started experiencing. This is the thing that Vikshipta was able to get. So this was going to happen. So in the beginning, we start with the focusing. Focusing is coning like this. They're coming up. So infinite, the Anandamaya Kosha, I have freedom, bliss and silence fully. And you start with the silence, focusing in the beginning. Then as you go to more and more expansion, then inside the total knowledge, the silence, this also starts expanding more and more. Then the focusing also starts reducing, becomes bigger. So focusing Gnananishta. Slowly this focusing start getting expanded and go into the Gunatita Sthiti, and lesser distortion start taking place. Then you start understanding the higher laws, the laws of creation, sustenance, and destruction. In creation, there is focusing, and in the process of focusing, the creation takes place. So, when you started expanding, the creation takes place with effortless ease. For example, in the beginning, when we start focusing, then your efficiency goes up. You're able to create things. You're You're able to see that your floor is cleaned very well, very nicely. Because with full attention you are doing these things. Every moment you are doing these things. Then when it becomes effortless, also the creation takes place with effortless ease. This is all we have to do dimension. So when Brahma creates the entire thing, he creates with a tremendous amount of expansion. From the Anandamaya Kosha, he creates dimension. Brahma. Brahma, as you know, is the creator. And it is the Anandamaya Kosha. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara are all in the Anandamaya Kosha dimension with a total most freedom. So the creation starts taking place in the effortless ease. Then comes the sustenance. There is always the balance between the focus and the deep focus. And in the focus there is the strain. In the deep focus there is the effortlessness, ease. And the people who do tapas, they do tapas with intense focusing also. And then the other people who do that effortless ease. So Vishnu Bhagavan, who is the sustainer of the entire thing, is able to bring this balance with effortless ease, with expansion thing. Both of them are expanded in that infinite expanse, and therefore the sustenance of dharma and adharma, positive and negative forces in the creation, they are all kept in a balance by these things. And similarly, when the whole thing is destroyed, then we have the destruction by Shiva. Pralaya takes place. And at that time also there is an expanded awareness, infinite expanse almost of Shiva Bhagavan. All the Trimurtis, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, who represent the highest creative forces, sustaining forces and destructive forces, are the ones that are handled in that infinite expansion. This is the trifold law that starts getting emerged in our thing. How our mind is getting focused and creating newer and newer thing, and how gradually as you grow, the effortless ease with which you do dimension. So Sakshi Baba, when it expands, then you start understanding the creation, sustenance, and destruction. Creation of a thought and sustenance of the thought and destruction of the thought. It goes on continuously. Look at your mind. A thought that created stays for a millionth of a second and then it vanishes. Then next thought comes. In between there is a pause. And if you recognize, then you see the thoughts coming and going like waves in a ocean or like clouds in the sky. And that's the dimension that starts emerging. The trifold law that governs our entire life is put forth here. So when we have this thing in the dream world, our normal mind itself can create a new world altogether. Mind has that capacity to create. In the dream world, you don't say it's after a dream. When you come out of the sleep, then you say, oh, it was a dream. Sometimes you are very, very happy it was only a dream. Because there in the dream you are suffering and suffering, tension, stresses. And then suddenly a lion starts chasing you and you are running and running for your life. And when the lion almost jumps on you, you come out with a scream. Then you are awake and they say, oh, bach gaya. You are so very happy. Similarly, another situation in which you are all enjoying, you have become a very great king with all the luxuries that you have, the sense pleasures, and you are enjoying and enjoying in the fullest thing. And when you wake up, the whole thing, oh, how I wish it were true. So when you come back, you have the regret or the enjoying thing that happens. But during the currency of the dream is as real as this world in which we live. So this is the dream world in which a creation takes place with a normal mind. But when we go to higher and higher levels of the samadhi, the cosmic mind, that is the one that creates this entire wakeful world. So Patanjali describes the whole dimension, the Vibhuti Pada. When you go to the higher samadhis, then you get these powers to create the things which are there in the wakeful world. So this wakeful world is the creation of the cosmic mind. And we can all reach that cosmic mind, Patanjali says, by doing this samadhi, trayamaikatra sayamaha, and do sayama on different dimensions, and you start getting this power. And this happens once you start moving from the Annamaya to Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. In the Manomaya Kosha, you get this power to create the dimension. And we had great example as Vishwamitra, and all the great saints had these powers to create things, and to destroy things. And Agastya was able to completely drink the whole ocean itself. Can you ever imagine? And Vishwamitra was able to create a heaven by itself. Trishanku wanted that. I don't know what is going to happen when I do this yagna. People say you're going to go to the heaven. Whether we go to heavens or not, how do we know? When we die, we don't know. Therefore, can you show here itself how I can go to the entire Swarga? He comes and asks Vasishtha. He says, no, I am not going to show you this. It's against the present set of laws. But Vishwamitra was a brain researcher. He was a young researcher, full of enthusiasm. Okay, let me see. And then he starts doing the entire process of divinizing the body to convert this body into the pranic realm and to the Manomaya Kosha level. So he had that power to do these things. Through the Sayama, he was able to convert, and he was able to allow the Trishanku to go up, levitation. He started going. Then what happened, He started going up and up into the Swarga region, and Indra says, this is not allowed today, You have got only passport from Vishwamitra, but you don't have the visa. You cannot take that. And he threw him out. So Trishanka was coming down from the heaven. He was crying, Vishwamitra, what is to be done? What is to be done now? Vishwamitra, don't worry. I will create a heaven which is even better than the heaven of Indra. He creates. So this is the dimension which comes up with the higher powers. These are all done by great person. That is the creation dimension. So therefore, the normal mind, we all know we create a world of our own, So our normal world, in the dream world, we have got a creation of the entire world, we do that. But when you go to the higher and higher dimensions, of Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, then you are able to create this wakeful world. Therefore, the difference is our normal mind with the normal capacities, which can create the mind world. Whereas when you go to the higher thing with deep focusing, expansion, going into the samadhi, higher levels of samadhi, you get this thing. Ultimately, you go beyond the koshas of creation, sustenance, and destruction. That's a pure consciousness. That's the whole dimension. Therefore, this is the whole process, that in the process of defocusing Sakshi Bhava, you move from Annamaya to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Kosha, and ultimately merge with the totality. That's the pure consciousness, So the focusing becomes defocused, completely becomes defocused, and then expansion. Therefore, spatially, there is an increasing dimension of space. Spatially, you are expanding. And as you expand, your slowness also comes. The uncontrolled speed of the mind, speed of thoughts, which have shown up as emotions, These emotions have become very violent emotions because of the excessive speed with which it does that. Uncontrolled speed of the mind. That is the emotional aspect that is coming up, raga, dvesha, all the dimensions. But then when you slow down, then emotions become more and more calm and more sattvic dimensions of emotion. Then you go to the mind level. And the mind also slows down further. And mind stays in that silence, calmness and peace for longer and longer time. The slowness increases. You're able to stay in that for any length of time. There's complete silence. You can go there or stay in a single thought for long time, very long time. Tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. To the extent that you expand to the next level of the samadhi. In the samadhi, there is greater slowness, and stays. And correspondingly, the breath also is going to slow down. Breathing comes down, slowness comes down, and that's the feature of expansion. So expansion and slowness are connected. That is defocusing and slowness. Then focusing and speeding up takes place. Both these things are done. In the material world also we know. In the matter world, we know that when the frequency goes on increasing, the wavelength starts coming down. And in the whole electromagnetic spectrum, we can see the Vibgayar, that is violet, indigo, all these things, red, yellow, orange, red. Red has the least frequency and it has got the highest wavelength. Then if you go further, it has the infrared when wavelength increases and frequency comes down, that the speed comes down. Then you go further, you have the radio waves, that the short waves, medium waves, and long waves. In the long waves, there is an expander, long wave. One wave may be 1 mile apart. And then from there you go to the field. It further slows down in the form of field. On the other side of the spectrum, we have violet. Then the frequency further increases to ultraviolet. Then you have got the X-rays, you have got the cosmic rays, in which the speeding up is increasing, and constriction is increasing. That the wavelength is decreasing. And correspondingly, you find, and it increases so much it becomes grossified as matter. This is the whole spectrum of creation. This is what happens here at the mind level also. And the mind goes on expanding, there's the calmness and slowness, and the breath also slows down, and the prana slows down, everything is slowing down, take place, and you have this thing. At the same time, when you slow down, it doesn't mean that you lose the capacity to speed up. You have the capacity to speed up. At the same time, the capacity to do that. You are not bound by the speed. You are not enslaved by the speed. You are not a workaholic. You can do the activities much better than anybody. Fastest you can do. At the same time, you have the calmness. This is the dimension that has been beautifully brought out in this whole process of Sakshi Bhava. So, at the mental level, when you go into this thing, you get that capacity of various things like prapti, prakamya. Intellectual level, you have this thing. And then comes at the physical level, you get the capacity. The Ashtasiddhis start coming up. As you expand, Patanjali says, Trayam Ekatra Sayamaha, then you have got the parinamas take place, and then transformations occurs, and then you get all these different siddhis, the Ashtasiddhis. What are there? Prapti, prakamya, then vashitva, then laghima, garima, mahima, anima, ishitva. All these things start coming up, the Ashtasiddhis. And this comes as you go higher and higher levels of samadhi, in which there is higher and higher level of concentration and corresponding slowness of the breath that takes place. Siddhis start coming. So the Ashtasiddhis can be divided into these 4 categories. That is at the mental level, the prapti or the prakamya. Intellectual level, vashitva. Physical level, laghima, garima, mahima, anima. And nana level, ishitva. Ishitva is complete mastery and all these things. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, that Anandamaya Kosha has this complete Ishitva. They have the complete capacity to do and undo things in its final thing. This is the dimension of defocusing that take place to higher and higher level expansion. Therefore, the people, the master of the Gnana Yogi, master of the Karma Yogi, master of Bhakti and Raj Yogi, everybody reaches this highest stage of creation. They get all the powers to create, sustain and destroy everything. So such people, karmani abhipravritta api naiva kinchit karoti saha. Even though they are in action, they are not doing any action, it is said. That is the whole thing that happens, and you are in the highest level of Anandamaya Kosha, in which you can create and you can sustain and you can destroy everything. That is represented by Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. And again, to remind you, the difference between Brahman and Brahma. Brahman is the ultimate reality. Put as Brahma, Hraswa. Brahma is Dirgha. It is the embodiment of what you call as creative forces. That's the dimension that comes up. So with that, we close today's explanation of the Sakshi. So Sakshi Bhava, or the witnessing principle, is very necessary to begin with. That's how the inner layer of the mind gets activated. And then you have several levels, number of levels of this Sakshi Bhava, witnessing principle, which is featured with focus, slowly start getting deep focus to higher and higher levels of expansion, and goes into Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha has the highest frequency, which has got highest freedom, power. All these things start coming up in the entire dimension. So with that, we close and then open up for the questions of these things, which many people may have. So please put your questions on the chat box, and we will start looking at the thing. Is it possible to avoid dreams in order to get deep sleep? The rejuvenated is the question that comes up. So nice question. So we don't have to avoid dreams, because dreams help us also to release all the emotional things that we develop during the day. So it's a way by which you remove some of the things, and then there can be improved dimensions that can come up in the whole encounter. But however, if you want to avoid some of the dreams which you don't want, then you have to do more of practices before you sleep. What I suggest is that before taking dinner every day, you do the cyclic meditation for 35 minutes. It will bring control over your food, and also it will help you to purify the entire sleep process. And it will take you quicker to the Sushupti phase. And in the Sushupti also, you start going to deeper and deeper level of Sushupti. In Sushupti also, there are several stages. And the best is the delta frequency deep sleep. That is NREM sleep. So we have to go into NREM sleep, into the direction that start coming up.
गुरुजी,
Yeah.
मेरे रिटायरमेंट को 10 साल हो चुके हैं, बट अभी भी मैं सपने में देखता हूं कि मैं ऑफिस में कलीग्स के साथ प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहा हूं, इंस्ट्रक्शन दे रहा हूं और काम कर रहा हूं, और इससे मैं छुटकारा पाना चाहता हूं. लेकिन एवरीडे ऑलमोस्ट वीक में 2 बार 3 बार इस तरह का ऑफिस का ड्रीम्स मेरे को आता रहता है, और उससे मेरा स्लीप डिस्टर्ब हो जाता है. पूरा कंप्लीट स्लीप मैं नहीं ले पा रहा हूं.
इसलिए मैं आपको बता रहा हूं कि रोज आप कितने बजे डाइनिंग लेते हैं? 8 बजे, 9 बजे,
8 बजे लेते हैं. 10:30 में एवरीडे घड़ी देखकर 10:30 में बेड में चले जाते हैं.
उसके पहले आप आधा घंटे के लिए ये साइक्लिक मेडिटेशन, आवर्तन ध्यान उसको करते जाएंगे तो आपको खाने में भी नियंत्रण आता है। आपका जो दुस्वप्न होता है या नींद नहीं आता है वो सबका रेमेडी हो जाता है।
जी
तो आधा घंटे के लिए आप इसको इन्वेस्ट करने के ट्राई कीजिए, होगा।
जी जी, धन्यवाद गुरु जी,
धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद।
Judo is asking question, in the state of Sakshi Bhava, how is our identification with the mind and the body? As we are more aware, does it not lead to more stronger identification with our mind and body? Awareness is either focused or the focus starts getting defocused. You know? So when you are aware, witness of the whole body, you are aware. Then you have the Sakshi Bhava of the whole body. Or you may be focusing only on one part of the body. You know, for example, the dancing girl looks at the head region and the part. All her attention is there, and that attention is the one that keeps her entire thing there. But when there are some yogasana experts, who do the they keep a light here on the forehead and do all the practices. When they do that in different postures, when they do even the Padahastasana and other things, they have to be fully aware of the whole body. They become fully aware of the whole body. So, as you rightly said, the Sakshi Bhava, you become aware of the whole body, entire thing. But then when you convert that into defocus, the effortlessness starts. You know. So you start seeing effortless way of doing the things. And I've seen some of those yoga practices done with such ease, with a smile on the face. Beautifully they do. Wonderfully these things. I'm simply marveled at this thing. This is how effortlessness starts coming up. And then even though you're aware of the entire body, you'll be able to. And people are aware even of the outside thing, what is happening to their side and other things. That also comes up. So expansion starts happening, and thus you may aware of the things that can happen outside also. Thank you. So Ramesh, exhibition as a thing. How do we control our thoughts? Most of the time, it drains our energy and makes us restlessness. Practice, abhyasa. And every day you do the practice of calming down the mind, silencing the mind, tranquilizing the mind continuously and sitting and start enjoying that wonderful state of calmness and peace and silence. Even when you have a respite, our general tendency is we involve in some activity. You go there and browse your this thing or start looking at thing or start talking to somebody or doing something or go to a kitchen and start eating something. We get involved in activities. So God gives us an opportunity to stay in the silence and calm to enjoy the tranquil state, that calmness and peace. So this should be made as a habit as many times as possible and gradually do the yoga practices and thereby you will be able to do these things. For that, nothing less than abhyasa. Patanjali says that you do the practice again and again and again and again. How long? Satudirghakala, Nairantarya, Satkara Sevito Drudabhumihi, he says that you do that for a long time it may take, depending on how much of tamas rajas sattva we are endowed with, we are born with. Correspondingly, it will take different lengths of time. If you have already had good things in your pura things and the prarabdha karma is full of this calmness and peace, within no time you will be able to get into the higher states. But if you are endowed or if you are empowered with the prarabdha karma of restlessness and more of rajas and more of tamas, it takes maybe months and years and years. The whole life may not be also enough to do these things. Therefore, it all depends on the individual. But we must make our effort. We all have the freedom to do this thing. Regularly practice, 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 practice. And with an understanding that I'm going in the right direction, you know. So, Vairagya, the second aspect, and see whether the speeded up thoughts which turn themselves into the various emotional outbursts, uh, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, how these things are reducing day by day or not. That has to be checked regularly by the practice. One side you are doing practices, maybe asana, pranayama, mudras, pandhas, kriyas, meditation, whatever you are doing, but your raga and dvesha are increasing, your krodha is increasing, and it's not coming into this thing. There's something wrong that you have to do. So you have to see that you are in the right direction. That the Vairagya. Abhyasa and Vairagya are two wings, Patanjali says. And the Vairagya, Vigataha Ragaha Yasmin, Saviragi Tasya Bhavaha Vairagyam. That Raga, that attachment should start reducing dimension. That should start coming up. That's how we have to bring control in this. Good. Sujata has a question. So, through wakeful state and Maya or delusion, hmm, and the dream state, Sakshi Bhava, is to be cultivated. We need Abhyasa and Vairagya before and defocus, then defocusing happens. Yes, this world that we are in the wakeful stage, you know, compared to the dream world, what is the difference? I told you, the dream world gets created by our normal mind. But this wakeful world gets created by the cosmic mind. That's an expanded mind, a mind which has tremendous expansion, no? Almost in the Manomaya Kosha, you have this thing. Then you have the expanded mind can create this thing. We call it as the cosmic mind. No? So how to get into this dimension? Through dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Samadhi is the one that Patanjali says. In this thing, Gnana Sthiti. In the Gnana Yoga, we say it is the Gnana Sthiti, Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna Lakshana. What is that Sthita Prajna Lakshana? Remember, staying in that silence longer and longer time. Atmaneva Atmana Drishta, full of bliss, ananda. No? And stay in that silence for 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, go on increasing, staying in that silence. Can you stay for half an hour? Stay for 1 hour? Stay for 3 hours? Can you stay for days together? Ramana Maharshi did that. How he was able to do that wonderfully well was a great experience. For days together, he stayed in that silence. So this is the Gnana Yoga path, staying in that silent dimension. Then the unfoldment takes place. You go to the higher and higher levels of samadhi with a higher dimension that come up. This is how we have to do. The abhyasa, therefore, is to stay in that silence, stay in that calmness and peace, tranquility for more and more time. And what is the result of that? As I said, it is the vairagya that start coming up. When you have that vairagya through this thing, you have the right dimension. So that's how we have to understand the Sakshi Bhava and the various stages of Sakshi Bhava which have been talked about. Therefore, Sakshi Bhava initially starts with attention, starts with focusing, and it has to be expanded from focusing to defocusing. Focus, defocus, focus, defocus. Go on doing it. Then you start growing to deeper heights. And the technique of cyclic meditation brings this aspect. Focus, defocus. No? Stimulate, relax, stimulate, relax, stimulate, relax. Goes on doing it. This is a great thing that has been given by the greatest of the masters, Gaudapada, who is the teacher of Shankaracharya. Therefore, based on that, we develop this cyclic meditation, the Avartan Dhyan, which brings about this dimension. This principle can be brought forth in various phases. In cyclic meditation, we use the different asanas to do that. But you can do that in every dimension also. So in our MSRT and other things that we developed also, we have brought these principles of focus and defocus as part of the entire dimension. Thank you very much. So with that, we close today's session and come back next Saturday for the next higher dimensions and see how best we can get this thing. Thank you all very much for your presence today. We close with Shanti Matra.
Thank you.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you all.